let's go live then. Okay. I think I'm live. If you guys can hear me, let me know. Anyway, I'm just gonna get started and we'll see how it goes. I want to start by just asking y'all not to judge me. I'm gonna be eating my dinner because I got home, made dinner, took a call, and now I'm here. So just give me a little bit of grace for that. Give me even more grace for the fact that I will be eating it directly out of the pot because that's just where we are. Okay, so a few things before we get started. I want to say thank you to Andy Smith again for the idea. I know you got it from somebody else, but that's just how things happen. And down in the description, there's a link to his video, so afterwards you can go ahead, give that a watch. This bracket is going to include everything I even read a little bit of this year, so including DNFs and rereads, things like that. The exception will be anything that I carried into 2021 or 2022 because I don't want to skew it unfairly with things that I don't necessarily have full thoughts on. Let's see, what else? I wanted this to be somewhat random. I didn't seed it or anything, so it's just a little bit random. And the best way I could think to do that would be putting it in alphabetical order, so that's what it's going to be. So for the most part, I think that's going to be okay, with the exception that it might get a little repetitive. Sometimes there's a couple different series that have specific naming conventions that kind of might have them come up. Next, this is totally entirely my opinion on this. If you've read one of the books, please feel free to try to sway me in the comments, fight for the books that you want to win. But for the most part, this is going to just be my opinion on things. And specifically, it's going to be my opinion now, which might mean that books don't necessarily fit what they got rated, or don't necessarily fit my opinion at the time I read them, because things change over time. And last things, if you could, please, when you watch, give this video a like. That way it kind of gets spread to more people. And actually, to that point, let me tweet out again that I am currently doing this, so no one forgets. Also, because I delayed it, so oops, not my Wordle score. Let's delete that. Where's the share button from here? There it is. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over, bear with me a little bit, to my bracket. Eat a couple spoonfuls of macaroni and Alfredo. Alright, so the bracket looks blank. I promise it isn't. I just made all of the font white so that while I was formatting everything, I didn't reveal what the different books were, so I couldn't start thinking ahead of time, because who would think ahead of time? So I promise these are filled in. There's actually text in them. And there are a total of, how many books did I end up with? 143 books on this list. So this might take a little while. I am going to cut this off pretty abruptly at 7:15 at the latest, maybe 7:30, because I do have work tomorrow and need to get sleep. So this might end up being a 2-stream thing. But let's go ahead and reveal our first group. All right. Okay, first comes first up. A closed and common orbit and a darker shade of magic. Do I own either of those? I know I don't own a closed and common orbit, but I also don't own a darker shade of magic. I unhauled it. I don't have a lot of books because a lot of these books because I unhauled a bunch of them. This one to me is a pretty easy vote for a closed and common orbit. I loved the entire Wayfarer series, and Closed and Common Orbit in particular, if it's the one I remember, see, yeah, that looked like a copy. If it's the one I remembered, is the one that is when. No, I'm not gonna look. Let me just see which one in the series it is. Closed in Comet Orbit is the second one. Oh, that's not the one I thought it was. I mean, it is a good one. That's the second one. Okay, that is good, but not the one I thought it was. All right, Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, or Black Enough, which is a short story collection edited by Ibiza Boy. This is... I gotta go with Black Enough. Binti was interesting, but the first one in particular just didn't do enough for me to really capture my interest that much. Like, honestly, if the books weren't that short, I probably wouldn't have even continued the series. Although, to be fair, if the books weren't that short, it might not have had that problem. So, it is what it is. Oh, now that's just not fair. Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna McGuire, which I do have. My lovely partner's sister bought it for me for Christmas. So, Down Among the Sticks and Bones. Or Dracula. No, that doesn't hit the light very well. Okay. Dracula. Oh, this is a tough one. I loved Dracula. I'm gonna put this down. I loved Dracula like so much. I think it's really good, but I think I would have gotten more out of it if I had read it like in an English class. Because to be honest with you, I feel like there's just a lot more there, and I wish I had been able to get that. And for that reason, I'm gonna have to go with Down Among the Sticks and Bones, because this just like left a more lasting impact on me, I think, in the long run. Now, if I reread Dracula, it may be that Dracula starts to stand out more to me, but as it stands currently, Down Among the Sticks and Bones just resonates with me more. All right. Fried green tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, or Gideon the Night. Gideon is behind books. We're not going to try to grab that. You'll see me mention this in my favorites video when that goes up this weekend, but Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, I have liked a little bit less every day since I read it. Especially because immediately, when I read a book and I like it, I like to read negative reviews for it. And I did that, and normally, oops, what that does is it makes me kind of angry. I'm like, oh, you missed the point. But with this one, I actually learned a lot about some of the problems with it, and I'm glad that I had that experience, because there are definitely, it's very white feminist, it's very 1990s feminist, and there's a lot of problems in it, and it just doesn't address a lot of things well. So it's gonna be Gideon the Night. Plus, you know, I love Gideon the Night. It's like, but that goes without saying. Ooh, In the Dream House, which is by Carmen Maria Machado, or In the Hand of the Goddess. This is pretty easy. In the Hand of the Goddess was fun, and it was kind of nice to read after reading a lot of really heavy fantasy, but In the Dream House is just so beautiful. It's so well written, and it just, quite frankly, crushed me, but that's fine. Got Lioness Rampant, which is also part of the Lioness series from, what is her name? It'll come to me later. Or Lords of Chaos, which was, I read for my reading books with Wheel of Time titles again video. Lords of Chaos, if you haven't watched that video, was an absolutely chaotic ride to read. Like, there were moments where I was like, wow, this is brilliant, and just a lot of moments where I was like, I have no idea what's going on, and not in a fun way. So this one's gonna go to Lioness Rampant. Now, which one is this in the series? I think this is the third one. Maybe it's the fourth one. No, not Dandelion. Okay, now I gotta go through all of these that say Lioness on it. Lioness Rampant, that looks like the fourth one. Yeah, that's the fourth one. Okay, that's the final one. That is my favorite of that series, so I feel pretty okay. Did I copy that one yet? Nope. All right, Oathbringer or Pet by Quick A. Mezzi, or Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, which is over there, so I'm not gonna go get up and get it. Oathbringer had some really, really, really fantastic moments. Pet, I think Pet does more interesting things, but I don't think Pet was as nuanced as I was hoping it to be. It was very much unforgiving. No, that's not a good word for it. It was not. It just didn't allow for shades of gray in a way that I would have liked. Now, Oathbringer, I feel like, doesn't dive nearly well enough into things, and I think sometimes I wish Oathbringer was a little less gray. But I think it's going to be Oathbringer between the two of them. Pet's another one where I think it's such an interesting concept that I really love novellas, and I really fell in love with novellas last year. But Pet, there's so many of them that I think would be served better by full-length novels, and Pet definitely falls into that category. Rope Protocol, or Rosewater now. Let me look this one up. I think this is the second one. No, that looks third or fourth. Third. What even happened to the third one of those? Oh. Rosewater I've read relatively recently, and I still don't know how I feel about it. My book club is having their, like, meeting on that this weekend. I still have no idea how I feel about it. Like, on one hand, it does some really interesting things. On the other hand, I was really bored with it by about 2/3 in. I was just done. I was like, is this over yet? And that's really condemning to me in a book I read. Plus, I couldn't stand the protagonist. And now, you know me, I love an unlikable protagonist. But you have to be unlikable in the right ways. And this protagonist was unlikable in the wrong ways. Like, spoilers? Is this spoilers? There is a very long ongoing cheating plot line, and the entire time he's like, but is it really cheating? And it's like, yes, dude, yes, you were cheating. And it was hard for me. So yeah, I honestly can't even remember Rogue Protocol that much, but I'm gonna put Rogue Protocol above Rosewater. I guess forgettable is better to me than memorable and bad. Ooh, okay. Strange Grace, which is not the Tessa Grattan that I have in the Starless Sea. That is a mean matchup. So Starless Sea was one of my favorite books at one point. It's really good. When I first read it, I loved it immediately. I reread it this year, and I reread it like in a different order. I read the stories within the story first, and then the story itself, and that was really fun. But oh god, I hate having to knock this out in first round, but like Strange Grace is like a book. Now, I also like this one a little less on my second read. I think this was a book that the first time I read it, it's both rereads, so that's fun. The first time I read it, it hit me in such a wonderful way, and it felt like it was a book that was written for me. And I don't feel that way about it as much now. When I reread it, it didn't hit quite the same way. So I do think this is like very much a book that was the right place, right time, right person. However, I still love it. All right, The Burning God or Daughters of Yeast. So The Burning God is going to be up there, and Daughters of Yeast is here. I'm not going to grab it off the shelf. I mean, between the two of them, I'm going to give the edge to The Burning God. The Daughters of Yeast is one that was like gorgeous when I read it, but didn't really stick with me. I actually, didn't mean to do that. The Burning God was, of the Poppy War trilogy, probably my least favorite. I think I kind of got burnt out on it because the series gets kind of repetitive after a while. It just wears you down, and I think rushing into The Burning God was maybe to its detriment, and that maybe if I had spaced them out, I would have enjoyed it more, but it was good. It was pretty good. All right, The Galaxy and the Ground Within or The Gilded Ones. Now, I think this is the one I was thinking of. Galaxy and the Ground Within, that is, yeah, the fourth one. This is my favorite of the Wayfarer series, so I'm going to go ahead and just quickly put that one through. Sorry to the Gilded Ones. I did enjoy the Gilded Ones. I think it's good. I think it's doing a lot of really brilliant setup, and I'm really excited for where the series goes after that. But Galaxy and the Ground Within, just, especially reading it during a pandemic, because the Galaxy and the Ground Within specifically is about these travelers that all get stranded together, and they're stranded together, and there was something about that felt so poignant right now. It just really hit. All right, I hated the Little Paris Bookshelf. I'm just gonna go ahead and cross that off. It was pretentious and boorish and boring, and I could have gone my whole life without ever having read it. Meanwhile, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, while a little bit of a weak entry in the Wayfarer series overall, if you read Long Way and didn't care for it, I would really recommend you continue the series because they're all very different from each other. But I loved it, and God, I fell in love with all of those characters, and I kind of want to just like reread it immediately because I want to like get to see those characters again. Like, it feels like visiting old friends. And I haven't even reread it, but I assume it feels like that. The Night Masquerade, which is the third of the Binti series, or The Only Good Indians. Like I said, Binti didn't really stick with me in any way. The Night Masquerade, as a conclusion to the trilogy, was interesting, but I think it kind of took too sharp of a turn, and it kind of threw me off from the rest of the series. So, it's not great. Meanwhile, The Only Good Indians was fantastic. It was also not really what I was expecting, but also I really loved it. So, yeah, we're going to go with that one. Sorrow Proper, which is a different book by Lindsay Drager, and The Sound of Stars. That's a weird matchup. Really, really weird to put those together. Let me think. The Sorrow Proper or The Sound of Stars. So The Sound of Stars is about this like kind of post-apocalyptic-ish. It's aliens have invaded and people are kind of hiding out. They kind of have imposed a lot of rules. It restricted what people can have access to. And there's a young woman who has kind of had a secret underground library and stuff like that. And there's a robot alien. There's an alien who also who is from this invading species, and he kind of defects because he loves music. And it sounds like a really cute concept, but it does a lot of things that I don't like about YA books. It's the kind of stuff that kind of, I think, turns a lot of people off from reading a lot of YA. So I don't know about that. Whereas The Sorrow Proper, it's hard to judge that fairly because it was just such a letdown compared to Lost Daughters Collective. Like, it's good, but it just kind of let me down. And I also feel like it was kind of preachy at moments. Like, it's really weird to have a book lecture you about how ebooks aren't really as good as physical books when I'm reading it as an ebook. But between the two of those, I'm going to go with The Sorrow Proper. And we'll cross that one out. And last on this like preliminary round is To Be Taught If Fortunate or Tooth and Claw. To Be Taught is brilliant. I love it. It's an absolute delight. Almost lost things off my shelf. It is the story of these scientists astrobiologists, who are exploring and the different planets and trying to find life and explore that life. Meanwhile, Tooth and Claw I DNF'd very early in because it's about dragon politics, and it was like about this weird family drama and but dragons, and it just, maybe just being dragons is enough for some people, but it felt like there really wasn't anything else to it. And I almost feel like I would have enjoyed it more if it was just an intense family drama. But yeah, I DNF'd that pretty quick. All right. Gonna take a quick break while this on this, and I'm gonna get myself a new drink. This is non-alcoholic sparkling rosé because this kind of stuff goes on sale after New Year's, and I am a sucker for it. I love this stuff. I would drink it, eat it like candy. So I bought myself some because it was on sale. It's not great, to be honest. I like the apple ciders a lot more. I also do not mind the like ones that are just sparkling grape juice, although those are always ungodly sweet. This one is like, it tastes dry, like a dry wine. And that's so weird to me as like a non-alcoholic fake wine product to be dry. Like, how do they do that? Let's see. All right. All right, we'll go ahead and move on then. Now that I have eaten a little bit, and we'll go ahead, scroll on up and reveal this one. Text color, black. All right. All right, this is such an unfair match. A close and common orbit and a zebra named Al. Let me explain this latter one a little bit, because you might be asking yourself, man, that's a book I've never heard of. What is that? One of my assignments last spring was, we have this weird course we have to take called literacy in the content area, which actually in theory is a really brilliant thing because it's all about like how reading and writing are important no matter what you're teaching, right? Brilliant. Cool. However, the way it's taught is not great. And one of our assignments was specifically to find a book, a novel, well, I guess it could have been nonfiction, I guess, but a book about the content we teach that is grade level appropriate, that you might be able to assign your students to read and then get something out of it. So I looked up a lot of books about math, and because I'm me, I really wanted it to be a novel. The problem is a lot of those novels are either romances about college professors, or they were like high level math, like theory stuff that I can't think of what it is. And I teach middle school. So I specifically dove into that. Now there were some cool options that I could have gone where there's like anyway, this is the one I ended up with because there's actually a really, really cool like YA like contemporary that seemed like it might be kind of fun that I kind of want to look at, and there was like a graphic novel, but this is the one I could get my hands on the easiest. And this is like kind of vaguely Phantom Tollbooth-esque. That was the other one, but I didn't want to read something I've already read. It's a little bit Alice in Wonderland-y. You know, it's that kind of portal fantasy, except everything in the world is math or chemistry for some reason. Anyway, and it was not good. I actually think it does a really bad job of teaching math. It's very fixed mindset oriented, which is like, if you're bad at math, you're just bad at math. And it's like, that's not really the message I want to send my kids. But anyway, long story short, it's losing to a closed and common orbit, which I loved. A Man Called Ove or A Memory Called Empire. Ooh, that's interesting because both of these were kind of meh books for me. A Memory Called Empire is beautifully written, but I didn't really care for a lot of it, which is so weird to me. Oh, you know what I could do? I could go ahead and make this bigger. Let me see how this looks on my OBS before I do that. Oh, that looks great. Okay, I'm glad I did that. Anyway, so it just didn't quite work for me. A Man Called Ove was just so tropey and like obvious. There was no fun twist. It was a very classic grouchy old man finds love. learns how to love and care for his neighbors kind of story. So, I mean, between the two of them, it seems pretty obvious to me. No, it doesn't. No, I can't decide. But I'm gonna go with the one that I thought was beautifully written. He's also white. Oh, I guess I made the whole chart white. Because I don't know. Between the two of them, I think that's the one that kind of had more of an impact on me. Not really. I don't know. That's what it is. Alana the First Adventure, which is the first of the Lioness Quartet, or All Systems Red, which is the first of the Murderbot. That's also a very weird mashup. I gotta be honest, All Systems Red didn't totally sell me on the series. Like, similar to Binti, if it hadn't been novellas, I might not have continued with the series based on All Systems Red. I just didn't attach to Murderbot the way everybody else seems to. Like, I just didn't get it. Like, yeah, I'm also anxious and antisocial, but like, not in the same way as Murderbot, and I think that just made it hard for me to connect to it. Alana the First Adventure, also not a great first in a series. I mean, it was fun. It was kind of popcorn fantasy. It was cute, good for the time it was published in. Kind of full of plot holes, but also, I don't know, it was kind of cute. You know what? I'm gonna go with Alana. Sometimes you just gotta go with the fun option. All right, Amazonia or an excess mail. I DNF'd both of these, but an excess mail was definitely the better one for me. I think I DNF'd this mostly because it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. And that's not really the fault of the book. That's the fault of the publisher for advertising it weird, me for misinterpreting the blurb. You know, that's not the fault of the book. I actually kind of think I want to give it a second chance at some point. Amazonia, meanwhile, was just uncomfortable to read. It felt very stereotypy. I didn't like it. Alright, these are both the same series, Anya and the Dragon and Anya and the Nightingale. This is the first one, Nightingale is the second one. I thought it was the last dragon. Is it just the dragon? Anyway, these are about, I think it's just no, I think another book is coming. Anyway, this is about a young Jewish girl living in Russia during like, oh, I should know when this happens. I took a whole course on Jewish history. I can't remember. But like when those like when Russia was kind of like pushing the Jews out. And her father is dead. Or well, no, her father's not dead. He is missing. He's in the military. Anyway, he's gone. And so it's just her and her mom, and there's a lot of superstition about them in the village, and the first book is about her like finding this dragon and like learning about prejudice and how to kind of how it's perpetrated and doing things like that. And The Nightingale is about her and her friends kind of going on an adventure, theoretically to go find her dad. Between the two of them, ooh, this is kind of a hard one to choose because they're both so good. I think I'm gonna go with the second, the dragon, the first one in the series. Not that I didn't love the second one, but there was also like a love triangle introduced that I did not need. Also, there was some really great stuff in the second one about like her feeling weird because she meets like another Jewish family and she's never really met somebody else that was Jewish before, and like her coming to grips with like the fact that the way her family does Jewish traditions are so different from this other. Anyway, it was really cool. I really liked it. Artificial Condition, which I believe is the second of the Murderbot Diaries, or Erisha and the End of Time. Erisha and the End of Time is definitely a cute middle grade. I kind of waffle on whether or not I want to continue the series because, I don't know, middle grade is just rough for me. Like, it's cute when I read it, but I never really want to read it. Artificial Condition, however, is by far my favorite of the Murderbot Diaries. I love one of the characters we get introduced to in that, and it takes way too long for us to meet him again. Anyway, for all those reasons, that's going to be my through one. As much as Erisha is really cute, and if you're a fan of like Percy Jackson, I would recommend this. It's very, very similar to Percy Jackson, so, you know, be aware of that, but I think it's really cute. As the Shadow Rises, also read for that Wheel of Time, similarly named thing. And ooh, we're already at 6:40. This is taking a long time. Or Ascension. Ooh. Between the two of them, it's Ascension. As the Shadow Rises, I actually did like. It was actually a book I wanted to read already. Well, I wanted to read the first book in the series already. Whereas Ascension, it's just gorgeous, and I'm so mad it doesn't seem like there's ever going to be a sequel to it, but like it was so good. It very much had Wayfarer series vibes. So if you like Wayfarer series, you would probably like this. But if you were like kind of liked Wayfarers, but were kind of upset because it didn't seem like there was enough conflict, you'll really like this. Beartown or Before They Are Hanged. Before They Are Hanged is the second in the First Law trilogy. Beartown is a Frederick Bachman. I DNF'd it. It took way too long to get to the inciting incident, and then when the inciting incident finally happened, I did not like the way it was handled at all. I think I just don't want to see the perpetrators of certain acts point of view on the matter. I don't. And I don't want to see the people that are trying to defend them. And I don't want to see the people that are the point of view of the people that are trying to say what they did didn't matter. Or I just don't want to see that point of view. I know it exists. I don't want to see it. So, for that reason, and basically that reason alone, Before They Are Hanged is going through. Beneath the Sugar Sky, which is is that really the third of the Shauna Maguire? Really? I didn't realize that one came so early in the series. We're gonna ignore that happened. I guess it is. Or Black Enough. Oh, what a weird matchup. Beneath the Sugar Sky. Which one is this one? Wait, if that's the one, that really is the third one? What's the fifth one then? I thought that was the fifth one. Fifth one. Okay, well, this was my least favorite of the Shauna Maguire ones, or of the Wayward children. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Black Enough through again. Not because Beneath the Sugar Sky isn't good, but because, I don't know, I have a habit of judging books against that of their predecessors or other ones in the series, and I know that's not really fair, but I can't avoid it. Black Sun, or Come Tumbling Down. See, here. Oh, God, okay, that's what happened in that one. Oh, that's a tough one. So, Come Tumbling Down is the fifth of the Wayward Children series. And Black Sun by Rebecca Rowan Horace is one of my favorite books I read this year. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, how do I decide between those? I think Black Sun. God, that's a hard one. That was harder than it had any right to be. Ooh, what did I do? Okay. All right, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain, which I did kind of DNF, but I've read it, most of it, before for different classes. Or Darkfire, which is the fourth book in the what is that? Lost Dragon Chronicles? Dragon something. I DNF both of these. I think between the two of them, Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain has much more value. Darkfire, I don't know. I think it's probably as good as the rest of the books in that series. Last Dragon Chronicles? But it's not the Last Dragon. Oh, I guess it is the Last Dragon. Okay. But I kind of burnt myself out on that series. It just got really repetitive and didn't really do anything for me. So Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain it is. David Mogul Godhunter or Disfigured. Ooh, what a weird mashup to put together. I think I'm gonna put it for David Mogo just because the surprise factor on that alone, I think, kind of bumps it up. Like, I expected to like Disfigured. I also think Disfigured would have been better to me if it had been more like an informative memoir, something akin to in the dream house, I think I would have enjoyed it more, because then I feel like it would have had more of a narrative to it. I think things would have worked connected in a better way, whereas trying to do it as this like series of essays didn't quite work for me. Down Among the Sticks and Bones, we already went over that one. And Driftwood by Marie Brennan. Driftwood is really interesting in that it's kind of this series of like short stories that are actually interconnected. And quite frankly, I need to reread it because I feel like I missed a lot in that book. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which is in fact my favorite of the Wayward Children. So Latway, or that's not even going to just dignify that one with a response. Plus, this is already getting pretty close. Same thing here. Every Last Fear kind of sucked. This one was so weird because it just, the author, and maybe some people are into it, but the author had such a weird style where anytime a character was introduced, you would get like a monologue about everything our main character knows about them. And this might be a character that is a reoccurring important character to the story, or this might be his like friend that we meet once. There's also like a weird emphasis on like things it was trying to do to be liberal in a way that like made me uncomfortable as a person that agreed with almost everything he was pointing out. But it was like, no, gotta do that. Also, nothing like your never mind. I was gonna reveal a plot twist. Ooh, Exit Strategy. That is the fourth book of Murderbot, or Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars. I'm gonna go with Fierce Femmes. This was a kind of fantastical version of real life events. It's kind of a memoir that's also fictionalized. It was really interesting, and it was fun, and I thought it was cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that one forward. Fire of Heaven. Fire of Heaven also in that Wheel of Time title thing, and it was actually a nightmare. And if I hadn't read it for a vlog, that would have been DNF'd so fast, but it doesn't matter because I never would have picked it up if it weren't for that. Harold the Ninth and Heart-Shaped Box. Ooh, some of these are just so easy. Oh no. Oh gosh, you're gonna make me choose. Okay. That said, Heart-Shaped Box was a Joe Hill. I read it because I really liked Nosferatu. I've also really loved the Lock and Key series, so I thought I would like it, and no, I hated it. Like, can we just start with the romanticizing of depression and suicidal thoughts? Like, let's not do that. Her Body and Other Parties and His Hideous Heart. These are both short story collections. I didn't finish His Hideous Heart. This is a collection of short stories where they're retellings of Edgar Allan Poe stories. Some of them I liked, though most of them are kind of meh for me that I read. I didn't end up finishing it because I had to return it to the library. Her Body and Other Parties, on the other hand, was just fantastic. Like, absolutely brilliant. Carmen Maria Machado, I need to read more of her works because, like, honestly, she just has such a beautiful writing style. I don't even know why I have headphones in. It's not like I can hear anything here. All right, Home, which is the second of the Binti series, or House of Leaves. House of Leaves is a book that has, over time, my feelings on it have kind of decreased. That's not the word I want. I can't think of the word I want. So I'm going to have to say, between the two of them, though, it's still got to be the House of Leaves. I think Home was probably my favorite of the Binti series, although it's really not what I wanted out of that series either. Quite frankly, Binti just didn't give me what I wanted, and again, that's not really on the series. It wasn't trying to be the thing I wanted. In an Absent Dream, or in, oh, what a horrible, awful mashup. In an Absent Dream is the fourth in the Wayward Children series. It's about their one teacher, how she went through her process, how she, the door she went through. And it's between the two of the books that I've read, it's actually, oh, that is such a tight race between Down Among the Sticks and Bones and In an Absent Dream. That is so tight. But that said, In the Dream House, oh, no, it's just, I can't. In the Dream House is just gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's just brilliant. Kill the Farm Boy, I DNF'd. I thought it got to a point where the humor was stopped being silly and fun and started to just be repetitive and stupid. Kindred, meanwhile, was like, it was saying a lot, it was interesting, I feel like I learned from it. I'm gonna go with that. Lakewood or Clara and the Sun, this is an interesting mashup to do because neither one of these really had the impact on me I think it was trying to have. Clara and the Sun, though, on the other, between the two of these, Clara and the Sun, though, every time I think about it, I feel a little better towards it. I feel like I get a little more of the point it was trying to make. Meanwhile, Lakewood, it just kind of has stayed at the same point, which is I really liked the point it was trying to make, and I think it does. I'm gonna take these out. I don't need them, and I think it does make that point effectively. I just didn't like the story it told to make that point, which is unfortunate because I really like the point it was trying to make, and I think if the ending had just been a little differently, I might have felt a little warmer towards it, but it just didn't quite do it for me. Last Argument of Kings, this is the third and final book of the First Law trilogy, or Let's Talk About Love, which is a romance novel about, it's a YA romance about, I guess new adult romance would be more apropos, about an ace girl. This one, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was cute at the time. Do I think about it today? No. Last Argument of Kings did some really, really, really brilliant things. I think there was some really great character work. I really liked most of the climax. Actually, I liked the climax. I did not like the falling action. And while I think Last Argument of Kings is probably the better book, there's a thing that happens in that I cannot forgive it for. And because of that, I'm going to put Let's Talk About Love into the next round. I'm watching too many reality TV shows. Lioness Rampant or Lore Olympus Season 1. Lore Olympus. I love that book. I love that series, that webcomic, whatever. I love it. It's Lore Olympus. Love After the End or Mad Ship. Ooh. Ooh. Where is Mad Ship? Wait a minute. Wasn't that there? Mad Ship was here, right? Okay. Love, no, it's one of those. Okay, never mind. What was there? I feel like there's something missing here. Okay, sorry. Love After the End is a collection of short story novels about Indigenous First Nations people. And they're kind of romances, sort of, that take place after, like, post-apocalyptic stuff. And Mad Ship is the second book in the Ship of Magic, or Live Ship Trader series. I'm gonna go with I'm going to go with Love After the End because Mad Ship of that trilogy is probably my least favorite, and it did a lot of things that made me uncomfortable that I didn't think were necessary. So I'm gonna take it out. Ooh, these are both okay. My Sister the Serial Killer and Network Effect are both books I felt rather ambivalent towards. Network Effect. You know what? I like Network Effect more. Sometimes it's as easy as, I liked it more. My Sister the Serial Killer, I think, has potential, and I read that one for my book club, and it was basically like anybody that read it thinking it was a comedy and went into it to have kind of fun ended up liking it a lot more than the people that were like looking at it more as like a thriller, I think is what kind of happened. Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones, psychological horror, really creepy and cool. Night Shine by Tessa Gratton. Oh, I guess I did read that at the beginning of this year. Wow, it's been a long year. Oh boy. I don't know on this one. Probably Night of the Mannequins. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Night of the Mannequins. I don't really have a justification for that. I think that's just the one I'm gonna go with. Notorious RBG or Oathbringer. Notorious RBG is like a biography about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. To me, I didn't like the style of biography. I thought it was trying too hard to be like, that's the word I want. I can't think of the word I want, but like, I think it was a little too poppy. And I think, along with that it's, Why can't I think of any words? It felt a little like self-referential, like a lot of. It was written by these guys that just kept referencing their blog the whole time, and it's like, it's not really what I wanted. Piranesi or Record of a Spaceborne Few. I know so many people love Piranesi. I know. It just didn't work for me, and I do not know why. I didn't hate it. It just didn't really do anything for me. Record of a Spaceborne View, however, delightful. Oh God, let's not even talk about it. Reverie or Ring Shout? Reverie I started at the beginning of the year. Is that the book that I think it is? Reverie. Yeah, I think this is the one I started at the beginning of the year and DNF'd relatively quickly. It just wasn't really doing anything for me. Ring Shout, however, is delightful. And delightful, I mean, it's about badass women kicking KKK butt. 7 Years to Sin or Rogue Protocol. It occurs to me this live would have been going much faster if I wasn't eating. 7 Years to Sin is a historical romance. I actually kind of liked it. Yeah, I liked it. I'm gonna put that one through. See, this is why I want to try more romance. I think I would really like romance if I figured it out. Ship of Destiny, the third of the Live Ship Trader series, or Shadows of Self, which is one of the Mistborn Era 2 books, which says enough. Ship of Magic or Silver in the Wood. Ooh, interesting. I think I'm gonna go for Ship of Magic. Silver in the Wood was interesting, but it did not leave the impression on me that I was hoping it would. Snow White Blood Red or Sorrowlands. I'm gonna kind of some of these skip through. Snow White Blood Red was interesting. It's very much like any other short story collection, some good ones, some bad ones, but I think on the average, more bad than good. Meanwhile, Sorrowland just was gorgeous and brilliant. Strange Grace or Subcutanean? Subcutanean, it was more a novelty than anything I think was actually good. Meanwhile, Strange Grace is still brilliant. Alloy of Law or Bands of Mourning? You're gonna make me choose between the two of them? I don't even know which one Bands of Mourning is. Is that the second or the third one? I think that's the third one. Which one was less misogynistic? You know what, actually, Bands of Mourning, if it is the third one, if it's the second one, whoops. I think there's some things in that actually almost make the series redeemable, because there's some things. Ooh, Black Sides of Heaven, which is part of the Tenserette series. The first one. Or Black God's Gun Drums. Okay, I love P. Jelly Clark. I know a lot of people think this is one of his best works. I do think it's good. Let me just start by saying that. However, I don't think it had enough time to develop the world as much as he wanted it to. Meanwhile, Black Sides of Heaven develops the world brilliantly in a similar amount of time. The Bone Witch or the Blade Itself? The Blade Itself, first of the First Law trilogy. And the Bone Witch, which is a YA fantasy. I actually like the Bone Witch. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Bone Witch. I'm kind of half considering continuing this series. I just haven't decided. The Broken Kingdoms, which is which book? The second book where's that book? Where is it indeed? Oh, up here. I think that's the second one. Let me see. Please tell me where it is. Yeah, the Broken Kingdom is the second one, so that's about that. Okay. Or the Burning God. Oh, gosh. I think I'm going to go with the Broken Kingdoms. The Burning God, like I said, I kind of messed myself up and burnt myself out on the series. So it didn't quite work for me, whereas the Broken Kingdoms is the second of this trilogy. The first one is still my favorite, but the second one was really, really good, and I really liked a lot of the things it was doing. The Deep by River Solomon or the Diviners. I'm going to go for the Deep. The Deep is great. I did the audiobook this time. Still great. Not as great as I expected the audiobook to be fair, but still, ooh, excuse me, really good. The Dragon Republic was my favorite of the Poppy War trilogy. I'm gonna go ahead and put that one forward. And the Empress of Salt and Fortune was good, just not as good. The Exiled Seven or the fifth season. Yeah, the fifth season. I mean, I like the Exiled Seven, and I think it's interesting. Did I end up DNFing that or unhauling that one? No, I still have it. That's one that I really like, and if the author ever makes the sequel to it, I'm really excited to see it. However, right now it's kind of leaving me hanging. Galaxy in the Ground Within or the Goblin Emperor. I DNF'd the Goblin Emperor not because I wanted to, but because my book got returned. So it's really hard for me to judge that fairly. But given that I didn't get to finish it, it didn't go anywhere for me. So I could see it potentially being really, really good, but I didn't get to see it actually be good. So I'm going to have to go with the Galaxy in the Ground Within. The Grace of Kings of the House in the Cerulean Sea. Here's another hot take. I didn't care for the House in the Cerulean Sea that much. Now, granted, I didn't think it was bad. Like, I actually think it's a good book. I just think it didn't do as much as it thought it was doing. I think people like it because it's warm and fuzzy, but like I read a lot of other warm and fuzzy books this last year. Well, not really. I read enough warm and fuzzy books last year that like I didn't really need that, and I read a lot of them that said a lot more than House in the Cerulean Sea was. Plus, they weren't using other cultures' trauma as their basis. 100,000 Kingdoms, that's the first of the Inheritance trilogy. Or The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. What an unfair matchup. I loved The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. It's beautifully written. It's interesting, but honestly, it's not going to stick with me. The 100,000 Kingdoms, however, was just great, and it hit me in some really great, interesting ways. Keeper of Lost Things, or The Kingdom of Gods. So The Kingdom of Gods is the third of this trilogy, right? Yes, which is my least favorite of the books. There's a lot of things. There's a particular choice in there that made me uncomfortable. But I think she deals with it well. The Keeper of Lost Things, meanwhile, it's pretentious. I just, can somebody do me a favor and just remind me to never pick up literary fiction by a man? Because it all is just pretentious. No offense to men. The Ladies of the Secret Circus or The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. To be honest, this isn't fair to The Ladies of the Secret Circus because I read it towards the end of the year where nothing was sticking and I DNF'd about 1 million books. But I didn't even get to the circus because it was taking too long. And so that's going to be a no for me. That might be one, if you think it's worth revisiting, let me know in the chat below. Lost Daughter Collective or The Midnight Bargain. Midnight Bargain is beautiful. I loved the love story. I loved the conclusion to some of the different arcs in there. But the Lost Daughter Collective is just something special. You know? Plus, it's one of those buttery paperbacks. You know what I mean? Oh, I love it. So, that's going to be that one there. The Midnight Library, gross. Murder of Roger Ackroyd, I didn't love it, but it's better than The Midnight Library. Midnight Library made me, like, actively mad because it's, like, actually harmful. Like, did you know that if you commit the S word, you, don't actually die? You just go to a fun world that lets you get another chance. Like, please, don't do that. The Never Tilting World is, I also DNF'd because of the library thing, but to be honest, and it was also at the end of the year where I wasn't really reading anything. It just isn't a fair shot. Maybe I should have taken DNFs out. But it's going to be the Night Circus there. The Only Good Indians or the Order of the Pale Moon Reflected in Water. Oh, that's not a... I'm just going to go ahead and skip that one real quick so I can cross Penelope out so I don't have to think about it. Alright. I'm probably just going to finish this thing and then I'm going to wrap up, by the way. This round. I think the Order of the Pale Moon Reflected in Water just had more of an impact on me. The Only Good Indians was good, and it definitely made me think and gave me good spooky vibes, but I just think Lord of the Pale Moon Reflected in Water was so unique that it was interesting to me. Prince with No Heart was a romance. It's kind of a cheesy, funny romance. And then The Seep, which is this sci-fi that just didn't do what I wanted it to do, which to me is always just like so disappointing. But quite frankly, the fact that Prince with No Heart referred to certain anatomical parts as her berry makes me hate it. Sisters of the Winterwood or The Sleeper and the Spindle. Ooh, those are fun matchup. Very cool, spooky fairy tale vibes. Sisters of the Winterwood wasn't what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be more creepy forest, but like it was also really good. It was about two sisters. I don't want to say too much. I feel like it's one of those books where the synopsis says too much. But their parents are leaving to deal with some things, and they start going through changes. And I think there's some really interesting metaphor there for puberty. Sleeper on the Spindle was interesting, but also didn't really do what I wanted it to be. I don't know. Neil Gaiman is kind of... I don't know how I feel about Neil Gaiman anymore. Anyway, it was cute, but not good enough, you know? Alright. Song of Achilles and the Sorrow Proper. I already talked about the Sorrow Proper was disappointing, but however, I hated the Song of Achilles. I try not to talk too often about books that are super popular, that I hate, or even the ones I'm ambivalent on. House on the Cerulean Sea, a little more negative but ambivalent. Piranesi, a little more positive but ambivalent. Song of Achilles, actively dislike. It's about an abusive relationship and we're supposed to root for it. Like everybody's like, oh, Patroclus is so in love with Achilles, isn't it romantic? And I'm like, no, Patroclus is in an abusive relationship and needs to get the F out. I swear this is non-alcoholic. The Thursday Murder Club or the Wave Kings. Now, look, did I put this one? Nope. Now, granted, the Wave Kings and I are not best of friends. I like the Wave Kings. It gets high ratings for me. However, it's meandering. It has not paid off. It did not need to be as long as it was. It did not need to be everything that it was. And I hate fantasy series starting out with their characters all in different places and they never interact until the end of the first book. That said, Thursday Murder Club did nothing for me. It bored me. Did nothing. The Wicker King or The Woman Who Rides Like a Man. Ooh, okay. The Woman Who Rides Like a Man might be my least favorite of the Alana series, of the Linus series, mostly because it has some really kind of gross fantasy tropes. Very white savior, Western savior needs to come and save this barbaric it was so that's gonna put the Wicker King forward for me. There Will Come a Darkness. This is the first in that Age of Darkness series that Shadow Reborn is the second one in, and it's good, but This Is How You Lose the Time War is to date still probably my favorite romance literally ever. Through the Woods, which is a collection of short stories, horror short stories, told in a graphic novel format, or To Be Taught If Fortunate. To Be Taught If Fortunate is beautiful and impacted me in so many ways. Turn of the Screw or Vox Machina Origins Volume 2. I didn't even rate Vox Machina Origins Volume 2 because I can't give it I just can't rate it. Also, we still didn't get to see what happened with Grog and the mermaid, or Siren, and that's just not fair. That said, Turn of the Screw was so disappointing. It was just so boring. And it had weird, creepy vibes. Wait is for Witching or Warbreaker. So I started reading Warbreaker at the beginning of this year, and I ended up DNFing it because it just was taking me so much longer to get through it than I expected it to. This used to be my favorite of the Cosmere, but I feel like I just kind of outgrew it a little bit. What is for Witching is this really weird, interesting, twisty, strange fiction that is great, but also like, ooh, I don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with White is for Witching because it was so interesting and weird, and interesting and weird is always going to win out over something kind of mundane. Oh golly, that's not fair. I mean, I know what I'm gonna go with here, but like, seems unfair, and here's why it's unfair. Words of Radiance is my favorite of the Stormlight Archive so far. It's really the only one I think I could say I enjoy without reservation. However, why are all the kids sitting together in the cafeteria is just such a brilliant commentary on race. It's so well written. It talks so much through the stages of racial consciousness and how this happens at different points in life for different people because of how race intersects with their life. And it's so good. So I'm sorry to Words of Radiance. If you were anywhere else in this bracket, you'd have won at least one round, but like, that's gotta be where it is. Let me get a time check. It is 7:10. I think I'm gonna stop here. I'll go ahead and reveal this and we can look at and you can see what kind of matchups we're looking for. I'm just gonna scroll through. Let me go ahead and make that bigger and scroll over so you can see. All right, this is our matchups for next time. I'm just gonna scroll through. You can look through them yourself. I'm gonna try not to because I do like having my reaction be in the moment. I hate when series get matched up together. Let me just not look. Am I at the top yet? Nope, not yet. All right, there we go. So there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that back to white so I can't check it. I'm going to hit that. Back to here. If you tuned in for the live, I didn't see anyone chatting, so I don't think anybody really did. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are tuning in to watch this after the fact, I hope you also enjoyed it. And words, say things, me. Yeah. If, leave a comment, let me know, start convincing me of one of these you think are gonna win. I think probably next week around the same time, I will do a, do another one to kind of keep going down through the field. Hopefully that next one I can finish the whole thing. And I hope you have enjoyed this. There were some in there I mentioned I DNF. If you think I should revisit those, please let me know. And I'll see y'all next time. Love you. Bye.